Welcome to the Kentucky X-Files, Season 2, with your hosts Dennis Mays, Tyler Stewart, and Josh Gibbs. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Now, on to our show.
Coming towards me, just crouched down. For me, at first, I thought it was just a footage thing.
I thought it was a bear. You can tell the difference between like a small or spindly leg creature and something with a larger foot. And it was big, whatever it was. It ran straight down at us and it just stopped. And it was pitch black. Couldn't see it.
And most of these witnesses that have come close to these things could have been killed.
It was beating on the side of the house. I didn't get to the side of the house as it went by.
Now, when it stood up, that's when I knew it was gone.
Right, like I needed someone to have pure faith in a higher power at that moment, and nobody fucking did.
Welcome back, guys, to the Kentucky X-Files.
The other one had more enthusiasm, I'm sorry. After you do it 3 or 4 times, you just, you know what I mean?
Actually, it sounded more enthusiastic on this time because we heard the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
The
Okay.
last time it was just a little blip, and you really did sound like a howler monkey.
I'm going to take my noise out of it and, like, superimpose. I'm going to, like, paste in, like, a T-Rex or something.
Right?
Oh, like how we do with the digital crickets that we we hand place
Oh, yeah, all the crickets.
all the crickets.
That was, like, amazing. Didn't somebody say that? Or
Yeah, that's why I'm like going back to it. They're like, are these real crickets?
It's freaking
Yes.
awesome.
Digital crickets.
Digital crickets. Nope. The sounds that you hear on the Kentucky X-Files are 100% organic. Organically grown, grass-fed crickets. That's gluten-free, too, I imagine.
I
You
would
know-
imagine that the
I
crickets
wonder
would
if
be.
cricket. Man, I wonder if
Yeah.
crickets are gluten free.
I would imagine they would have to be. They're not made of bread.
Okay,
wonder if
we're
a
getting
cricket-
way off.
I wonder if a
Okay,
cricket
listeners,
could be, like, allergic to gluten. That's what I'm saying. Like, how long does a cricket last? I mean, isn't that what they eat?
No,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
don't they eat worms or something, like grubs or something, or other bugs? Aren't they carnivores?
We're going to have to consult the listeners on this. What the hell do crickets eat, everybody? You need to comment and let us know.
Okay, yeah, this is Thursday. This is your
Yeah, that's right.
second part of the conversation we had with Devon. Like this, if you haven't listened to it, go back to Monday's episode.
Yeah.
We're going to continue the conversation that we had with Devon.
Yeah.
So if you haven't listened to that, go back to Monday. Same week, but Monday. First of the week.
Also, too,
This is
it's,
Thursday.
I consider this kind of a little test run because we've had a lot of comments over the last months about, people wanting more than one episode a week. And we always try to keep the episodes a certain length, but sometimes episodes run a little bit longer. You know what I mean? This one did, and I thought, hey, why don't we break it up and give the folks a couple episodes? So if you guys out there are enjoying having 2 episodes, let us know. If it sucks, then tell us.
It sucks.
Then just say it, like, guys, this sucks.
Yeah. We tend to listen to our fans a lot. 'Cause They're the ones that put up with us every Monday.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think? Should we play this next one? Let them finish this conversation.
We cliffhanger them just a little bit longer.
Okay.
Maybe.
So anyway, about the crickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the meat and taters. That's what we're here for, right? To just solve these mysteries.
I think we should just go. Thanks, guys. Hopefully you enjoy this Thursday episode, and maybe we'll do this more often. Hopefully this is something that you guys enjoy.
Yeah, we'll see.
Enjoy.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, we've done this. Season 1 had a few double episodes.
Yeah, that is true.
This is not the first go around for us. We just have a very short memory.
That is true. I know people.
I'm the X-Files historian sometimes.
Yeah, very, very true. I know people were saying how they missed the midweek mystery, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe this will kind of take. I didn't think people, people were getting into it as much as I thought they would. But there's a handful that were like, dude, you got to bring that back. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the midweek mysteries, but it was it was getting increasingly difficult to find mysteries.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Not even only that. I just feel like it's something that we could already put into the actual podcast, like the podcast itself, and get be more of a bigger dive into it, because we did that on one midweek mystery where we actually took the midweek mystery and it became one of the main episodes that we talked about.
And I think that's part of it too, is that if it's worth talking about, it always ends up being more than a 20-minute conversation.
That's true. Yeah.
So like I get it. Like I feel like we need to branch out more. Like if we find those I want to say a midweek mystery. I feel like I'm about. Let me throw this out there, guys. I know you guys are eager. We want you want to listen to the second part of this episode, but we're still going to string you along a little bit here. I feel like this will be a lot better. We're going to start a Instagram account, and I think this will be better on a midweek mystery basis, where we can find these topics and we'll send them like a short clip. And if it's something that you guys want to hear us actually talk on the podcast, like comment on it and stuff. So that should be. Should be starting that here in the next month or so. So just be on the lookout for that, and then I'll try to keep on top of everything on those ends. And then you can send me anything too. And it's going to be under the same name as this. I think we'll link it to our Facebook too.
Yeah, we'll have it all linked up.
So we'll do it that way too. So I feel like people will like that better. It's short, sweet. It'll get them something tasteful to look and talk about, especially on those days, like actually through the week. I'll try to see if I can make a schedule through the week where I give you guys something to talk about while you're just sitting around.
Sounds good.
Scrolling through your phones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, it's going to be good no matter what we come up with here.
That's all we do. We come up with good ideas.
Yeah, like oops, all bangers.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
Oopsie. All right, let's let them have it.
Yeah, let's have it. I feel like we went on our huge tangents.
Crickets.
Digital crickets. All right.
Digital crickets eat?
I don't know.
Oh God.
We need to discuss this.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy the episode.
But so, get up the next morning, and there's a bunch of people that are standing there, and I just said, I might have seen Bigfoot last night, and different people shared different stories about it, right? And a couple of people mentioned how they'd seen Bigfoot there. It was probably this family, right? Like apparently baby and mom and dad. Baby, I guess they say again. I'm just saying. They said the baby's like 200-some years old. Well, the thing's pretty small. If it's 200 years old, I guess they take a long time to age, apparently. I don't know. But So the next night, well, it's the same thing. I'm all worn out from festivities and doing this, that, and the other, and feeling all the energies out there, and start to go to sleep. Tap, 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 tap.
And then it starts again.
Yeah, start again. Same thing. And again, I'm still sitting there, even though what I saw the night before, although there was a big, voice in the back of my head saying, "Oh, well, something's playing around.
Yeah.
Something's playing with you." And I'm like, it's the earth expanding again. And again, I get up probably about the same time to do the same thing, right? Probably should have that issue addressed, but you get a little bit older guys, so
right.
bath a few times a night. But so, and it's pouring out, so I'm not going over to the, restroom. I'm doing the same thing, but this time it's three of them walking almost like they're walking single file across the street in the middle of this orchard. And doing the same thing they were doing the guy did the night before, just sort of phased out. Now, this time it's like, oh, yeah, there's a little one, and a bigger one, and an even bigger one. Yeah.
So it was like a family pod?
Now, what's that? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you want to hear some, to me, okay, you can say whatever you want. Guys, as a minister and as a healer and doing what I do, right? I'll be honest. It doesn't serve me a whole lot. Being in Burkesville, it doesn't serve me a whole lot to talk about this stuff. For me to just, I'm gonna pull one out of no. It doesn't trust me. So let me tell you what happens next, though. And this to me is just it tickled me pink, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, you are one of the most playful beings I think I've ever run into, because I go, after seeing this, right, and I'm standing there for a minute inside the doorway, what the heck? You gotta be kidding me, three of them?
Right.
But I still go and I lay my head down and I go, well, maybe it was a deer.
Yeah, you still trying to
in my
rationalize
mind, but I said in my mind, maybe it's Bigfoot, but as soon as I said Bigfoot, on the top of my yurt, bang, 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 bang.
Oh, no. Yeah, I've heard it. They don't like being called that.
Well, no, I don't think it was even that. And you know what, guys? Normally you might think, well, I'll scare the shit out of you. No.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much sort of love coming from that whole thing that it did not scare me one bit. I actually started to laugh.
Okay. So it was
it was just validation.
I get
you.
validation,
and to me it was like, oh, obviously, you can read my mind.
Okay.
Obviously, because
I said,
you're responding.
I've heard that. I've heard there's a camp of people who firmly believe that this is a fourth or higher dimensional being, and it can read our thoughts and intentions.
110%.
Yeah. I was wanting to ask, do you think that the Dogman and the Sasquatch, do you think that they're on the same, they're from the same place, if you would call it a place?
Same dimensional
plane?
Or...
Well, I would say, just vibrational, right, using discernment. Now, I've heard other people say, well, Bigfoot was an ass. Well, I'm thinking, anymore when I hear people say that, no, you brought ass into the woods, and Bigfoot just, mirrored it for you.
You just smacked it.
You bring love, you bring love, joy, and bliss into the woods. In my opinion, you run in, that's all you're going to get back. And to be honest, that's the best way, in my opinion, to run into Bigfoot. But so I think we're talking about you could say God's magic. You could say lesser magic. You could say if you talked about somebody who's a witch doctor, there are black witch doctors. There are the good witch doctors. There are yogis, even yogi masters, who even say, there's sort of a negative thing you can tap into to get these abilities, or there's sort of the God energy you can tap into to get these abilities and the information and what. And so, to me, very similar skill set, I would say. On par probably for their psychic abilities and these other things, the ability to just phase in and out of this dimension. But, where do they actually go past that? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think this is a natural thing that they do, or do you think it's more of a kind of like what you were talking about, kind of a witch doctor or something, they're actually, I feel like I'm going to use a word that I don't know if it's right, conjure, they conjure themselves into our dimension, or they come from our to our plane.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, I think it's like, so a lot of people, they'll want some sort of a scientific, or they'll want some, meat and potatoes. Okay, well, let's look at maybe the meat and potatoes at least we do know. If you look at like a yogi master, you look at like a Buddhist monk, and when they're talking to that third level of samadhi, brothers, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about, yeah, you can like phase right in and out of the dimension, clothes and all. You just walk right out. And they also say you can return at any age and return multiple times. So there we go into the return of Christ. Quite possible, because for over 8,000 years, they've taught that when you reach this state of consciousness, okay, well, if we can do it in human form, or if that's possible, right, that they're probably doing something similar. I just think that to me, Bigfoot is just like, okay, like I'm not sensing a whole lot of high-end technology. I didn't see him with cell phones or laser guns. But now the spiritual side and their ability to perform those superhuman tricks, right? Yeah, that's off the hook. And so I've heard tale that what happened at one point in time is we sort of commingled with them thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, but that they went on a much higher spiritual path, and we sort of went to the technology side. And so they're sort of evolved in a completely different way, dimension, or maybe if you became, as the yogis say, you reach that third level of samadhi and walk right out of here, well, maybe you walk into where they are. I don't know.
I can get behind that, because I've heard the similar, we went a different path, and we've said this, this group of beings went another path because we were more, I guess, technology oriented. So, and they were more spiritual and stuff of that nature. So,
well, if you boil it down, you get one side, an evolution that's fixated in tool making, and another side that's evolution is fixated in spirituality.
Yeah.
They both lead somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and then sort of that weaving back and forth too. So why did I run into Bigfoot? Well, I was going off on, don't go do this, kids, but an old drug binge or something? Did I do it like serving me and just be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it was like, no, I want to surrender more of myself so I can get closer to, God and source, right?
Yeah.
And so it was on that path that Bigfoot found me, right? And so maybe there is a lot to say about, maybe they're just more highly spiritually evolved, and to really even have that sort of interaction. It just, again, I'm just throwing out there, you sort of got to meet them halfway, maybe, or maybe like if you were even in fear or worry or shame, it's like, they can't even what's the point of interacting with that when you're basically walking around like Harry Yogi Master? Well, you're not going to be entertaining those frequencies or those thoughts. That's just not even in your paradigm.
Well, what's your opinion about, say, I know this is, it's like around 60 years ago, what was it in Russia, the Dyatlov Pass, the students that were basically ripped to shreds.
Yeah, they were saying it was a Yeti,
a lot of suspicion was that it was a Yeti, and one of the last, pictures, actual photographs that the students took showed a shadowy being that was in the woods following them. What I just want to know your opinion, your speculation, what do you think of something like that?
I think without, and I'm not picking on any of your past guests, I've not listened to all of them.
Yeah.
But, nonetheless, some of these people are real genuine. I know they are, and they're seers. But to be honest, if you don't have discernment, or if you're letting other things influence your vision, then you may not know really what you're seeing. Maybe you saw Bigfoot before. Well, then everything you see out in the woods becomes Bigfoot. Well, there's a whole heck of a lot more out there than just Bigfoot.
Okay.
Right.
So you think maybe something different, on different, a different level, or?
Yeah, well, that's kind of like if somebody comes to me and says, hey, little kids can't sleep at night, something's going bump underneath the bed and yada, 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 right?
Yeah.
Well, then I have to say, okay, I got to do the investigation part. Well, what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? Oh, you've seen shadows, have you? Okay, describe the shadows. Well, what do you mean don't describe the shadows? Well, do they come off the wall? Do they stay on the wall?
Yeah.
Do they turn into a smoky thing? Do they not? Because this all kind of plays into what it is.
Right, yeah.
So, it's kind of like the stuff out in the woods. I've seen stuff out in the woods that, for lack of better things, I would just say, like, normally, and like if I would see it in a house, I'd call it a black astral beam. Just sort of a lower dimensional, to be honest, bush league demon. They're not that much.
Something that's just there to harm.
Well, it's they don't like when I talk about anything lower dimensional, anything that does not honor universal law, free will, basically is going to be in that category. Yeah. And so a lot of people get angry when I start talking about grays, and I say, yeah, if it's gray, stay away. They're like, no, I know a lot of grays are really good. And I'm like, yeah, as a general rule, I'm saying stay away from them because, like, they just do not, in the end, anything I've seen or come from those folk is just like, no, they do not honor your free will. Yeah. They're not operating underneath that bigger Ten Commandments law, that universal law.
Sorry to cut you off because this actually piqued my little interest here.
Yeah.
You said grays, like gray, kind of gray shadow figures. Are you're talking about?
Oh well, no. I'm even going to like gray aliens. Sorry.
Gray aliens.
Okay.
Okay. All I was saying because
they look evil though. Like gray aliens, literally. To me, they look like, what's the right word? Malevolent.
Yeah, I was just trying to say that word 2 minutes ago.
You're either benevolent or you're malevolent. You're either honoring, all those things that God gave us, or you don't. Yeah. And that's just a good way in my book to judge these different things. Or when somebody, is on your show and, they're talking about or even reaching out to you about some of the things they might be interacting with, well, it doesn't take too long to hear what the interaction is to kind of say, oh, yeah, like I would entertain that thing another 2 seconds.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
But it can be a lot of things out there, in my opinion. I've seen so many different things out in the woods, but without truly like having that discernment or coming from a place, right, where you're intoxicated. Unfortunately, like if you're on different drugs, you're opening yourself up, even seers are, to other spirits that can confuse you to whatever you're seeing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are you kind of saying that in a way we technically, since the way that we've conditioned ourselves as a society, we kind of got blinders on? There's so much more out in the wilderness that we can't see is because we're so conditioned to what we see nowadays?
Oh, yeah, 110% there. So, I think that some of us, right, I've seen a lot of stuff, right? I've seen apparitions. I think a lot of people can, but maybe it's more that they need to be trained, and I just maybe sort of came in with the training. But I do believe that everybody can see this stuff. Now, so the way it was put to me, and I think this makes a lot of sense, is that, did you know, guys, that when, say, Christopher Columbus, right, although he's, probably not really the first one, but let's say, okay, when that first ship came over and those Native Americans are standing along the shore and they don't have ships, did you know reportedly as low as maybe around 6%, maybe as high as like 10% of even like the elders of that population could see the ship? Now, what do you mean, Devon? I mean, come on, it's a ship. It's got fabric sails.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before,
right?
That they couldn't perceive the ships.
Yeah, right. So they've got no point of reference. No point of reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, no point of reference to like even just almost see through it. So, like when people say seeing is believing, well, actually, you almost sort of have to believe it first in a lot of cases to be able to see it. You have to understand that, those little traces of little things you're getting on the corner of your eyes, right? No, that's a lot of times that's just not an eye booger. That's, that's something you're seeing.
Yeah. But I mean, wouldn't to that argument though, I mean, wouldn't it be something to say, something similar to say that you got a group of early, humans that have come across the strait, you know what I mean? And they're sitting there next to this big mountain, and one day the mountain explodes into lava, and they don't have a point of reference, so they just stand there and get melted by lava. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have a hard time with that one. I think that if they look out
I
in the ocean,
understand.
And there's a ship sitting there.
I understand. Yeah.
To me, it's like, what is that? What is that? That's not a fish. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, I mean, they had canoes. understand the difference between
That's
size.
just a giant canoe.
Yeah.
That's a way better canoe than ours.
They got a better canoe maker.
Well, okay, so I totally understand where you're coming with that argument, and I'm not saying the argument to sit there and say, okay, what we knew that they were thinking when they saw the first ship. Well,
I get you.
Percentage of the people who saw it didn't see it, right? But it can be something like this, right? Although I was aware of geoengineering, chemtrails, right, early on, because I grew up early enough to not see them, and then all of a sudden they start coming around in the 90s. Well, I knew that something was going on. Well, something one day, guys, years ago now, this is, probably 2014, I think, and they were doing a grid pattern. It was over the north side of Indianapolis. I mean, it was just plain as day. You know what I mean? If you look up, you saw it looked like checkerboard for as far as the eye could see.
I've actually seen that before. I've seen chemtrails like that before that I thought were pretty wild because it was blatant. You know what I mean?
Thank you, air traffic controller.
No. I'm sitting there, right? Like, hey, Jesus, like, what the hell is this? And what's going on with this? I'm in like alarm mode. I'm looking up. Now, as I'm walking around and driving around, and it's slow 5 o'clock traffic, so I can see people, right? My background is a behavioral therapist. I observe people. I'm really good at it, right? I was trained to do that. But as I'm observing these people, you know what I'm observing? No one's looking up. I finally see one guy, and he looked just like I did. He was driving across the other side on 86th Street there in the north side of Indy.
Yeah.
And I was going one way, he was going the other. We were all in pretty much back-to-back traffic, and his jaw was like mine, to the floor, and he was looking up. He wasn't locked into his phone. He was like me. Now, everybody else's reality was the same thing that day. Why didn't anybody else see that?
Right, yeah.
You see what I mean? It was in the background of my knowledge of things that I knew about, right? And I wasn't like going down that rabbit hole at that time, none whatsoever. No, after that day, I went down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example. Or if I have folk come out here, right, and they're like, you see spaceships up there almost every night, Devon, above your property. Mm-hmm. Now, if you come out here from the heart, no, trust me, you're going to. And I've had folk come out here, and the thing might be like, well, how do we know that's not a satellite? And it does a U-turn.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, satellites don't do U-turns, do they? But again, same thing. This is happening above my neighbors and the people in Burkesville and the people that come over here and that see this. It's happening above them every night too. But why are they oblivious to it? Do you see what I mean? So it really has to be. There is some truth to that. There has to be. Otherwise, everybody would see the grid pattern out there that day, but nobody saw it hardly. Strange to me, but apparently it happens.
Yeah, and you're when you talk, I mean, when you bring into this kind of a unique look, because I can, just from listening to you talk, I can tell you've invoked the name of Jesus a couple of times, and you talk about the commandments and God and whatnot.
Yep.
With all these different, say, dimensional beings or different levels of beings, where is God during all this? Is he governing all of these different dimensions, in your opinion?
Well, is the creator of, but is he in control and complete? Like, can he keep those reptilian ships and the reptilians aboard him from abducting people or screwing with people, or sort of the current kind of, if you will, the one of the current thought processes, if you will, is that those are the folks that really run this fallen world. They're the ones that work through these people, these leaders. I've seen it before. I've seen them show up before. You can see them once in a while. But where's I going with that, guys? Oh, so we'll go back to discernment, right? And go back to, okay, and so that's why you brought this up. Do you want to move into like another first?
Oh no, I'm just curious as to your opinion. I mean, honestly, it's literally just something I'm curious about. I've heard the both sides of it, the scientific side of the different dimensions of existence, and then the spiritual side of it. And I wonder, well, if there's multiple dimensions of beings, and there's different creatures occupying these
Yep.
different dimensions, then is
Yep.
God watching all of these dimensions, or is he only the God of this dimension?
No, I believe I believe there is one, right?
Yeah.
And even a lot of people will say, well, the Hindus don't know. The Hindus believe there's one. Buddhists believe there's one. Now they talk about different demigods and these other things, which I think a lot of times, in my humble opinion, when we start to argue those points about what the Hindus believe and don't believe, we're talking about angels. We're talking about we've got different angels depicted in the King James, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't want to argue that point.
No,
That's not what
I understand. Yeah, I'm not trying to. I'm just
but
curious.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
but no. I think it's one God that's ruler over all of this, created the whole thing. But yet, there are certain things in this universe. I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, no, there's nothing but good things out there. If it comes on a ship, it's nothing but good. Or if you go into meditation and you see something bad, right, because you can jump dimensions and when you're in meditation, FYI, then it must be of you, and you just need to learn to love and embrace it. Well, pardon me, horseshit. No, there are nasty things in the universe. There are things that do not honor universal law, free will. They're fallen ones, right, that we talked about, right, forever. They're still here. It's the good and the bad. A lot of people say, well, how does God allow like that to go on? Well, believe it or not, it's all one. And even those things will return back to source, I believe, at one point in time. But for me to say exactly why, maybe a lot of times I'll be asked, well, why does that go on? Why are these other nasty beings allowed to even exist, right, in that dimension, this dimension, or go in and out of dimensions, right? I don't have an answer to that other than it's just sort of like it is, because like if there was, a light, then there's a dark. If it's a pancake, no matter how, right, then you try to bake it, there's two sides, right? I mean, so.
Yeah.
No, I do understand, and I believe that no matter who you are, whether you are just the person who goes to work, does your 9 to 5, and goes about your daily life, well, you better understand that there's another side to this, and that there's a complete spirit world that we're in 24/7, 365, whether you like it or not, whether you care to see it or not, right, or acknowledge that it's even there so you can begin to see it. It's there anyways. Now, if you're getting into my humble opinion, just my humble opinion, but if you're going down the path of, well, I want to go and ghost hunting, or I want to maybe go search for Bigfoot out in these weird places, or whatever it is, you better have some discernment, and you better know what you're dealing with, and you better have a connection to, whether it be Christ, whether it be Buddha, whether it be Maha Avatar Babaji, any of these or all these ascended masters, so that when you get in the thick of it, they can give you a hand. You better understand, there's a different set of angels out there that you can call upon as well. I've seen a lot of people kind of go down this road in these different areas, and, they think one night they go out and they have contact or interaction with something in the sky.
Yeah.
They're not quite sure what it was. They think it was a good interaction, but I mean, I'm just telling you guys, I've seen multiple people I know they're having interactions, but what they're having is not benevolent. What they're dealing with is like running them down, the wrong road, is at best, at worst, destroying them on many different levels, or using them as their vessel type thing, and so, but you do need to have discernment. You do need to have the armor put on, to really, I think, navigate any of this stuff we're talking about.
I know recently we talked to a couple down in Murray, Kentucky, that have been seeing just crazy lights in the sky, and I've been trying to keep in contact with them, but it's been busy. I definitely been busy, too busy on my side to make a continuous contact. But I've been trying to reach out again, and when they first told us their story, all they wanted to do was show it, just so they could basically, like, hey, we're not crazy. This is what we're seeing, And since then, we've gotten several other messages of people who are also seeing these lights in the skies. And it's pretty amazing. And some people even say, like, hey, don't put, don't use my name on the show, but here's what I'm seeing. And we know, I mean, we know people are seeing something. You know, I don't ever claim to know what they're seeing exactly, but we're hoping that the more that, you know, people talk and come forward, the closer we'll get to that, you know, to understanding, or at least get closer to better questions.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of folks out there. You said something about, you know, we're not you know, we don't somebody said, Dennis, somebody said that, you know, we don't do a narrative here on the show. And my reply was, yeah, there's a lot of, even really go further, there's a lot of what I call controlled narrative.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, like, I've listened to a lot of these really popular UFO and Bigfoot things, but it's like, all right, why are we talking about, like, the craft, to be honest with you? Why are we talking about what the craft is made of? When a lot of these craft I've seen, they're not made of anything like you're going to see on this earth anyways.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? They're not coming from, like, a physical plane in a lot of these senses, but it's like the craft and what it's made of? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No. I think the bigger question, right, is so just kind of what you were alluding to, is like, okay, why are these folks seeing this? Why all of a sudden are all these folks, not just old Devon, why are all these sudden these beings showing up? What are they?
That's pretty much it. I think that's the quest. You know, for me, it's easier for me to say, it's easier for me to speculate about what is powering the ship or what it's made of, because there's sciences that are comparable that I can speculate based on what sciences we have here that we know of, and it might not pertain to physics out there, but it's easier for me to bridge the gap from the known to the unknown using a science, because I've never been I can't say that I'm not a spiritual person, but I've never been a religious person.
Well, it establishes common ground too.
Yeah, I was just
it gives me a
stepping
starting
stone.
point.
Yeah,
But have you ever heard that your scientist and your science will go no further than your understanding of basically the spiritual?
I think that all paths lead to the same end.
Look
when you go to quantum physics,
like,
it's the most advanced science in the world, and they still don't understand what programs an electron to be an electron. So it still leads to the same unknowns.
Yeah.
You know, and your answer could be the answer to that.
Yeah, we've always said
a creator could have made the electron do what it does.
Yeah, we've always said on here, is like, no matter what your beliefs are, we don't have all the answers, but we'll at least.
I think we all hold pieces to each other.
Yeah, we hold a piece to everything.
Exactly.
So, like, if it might be a little bit of science, spiritual, religion, it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like if we actually came together and talked to each other with, to find some kind of common ground and understanding, and not, because I know in this kind of realm, like, especially science, spiritual, religion, and stuff, we tend to butt heads.
Sure.
Because
because we've been divided on all of it, so we're still running the division little narrative in our own brain, you know. So rather than coming together and looking for the commonalities, you know, we just say, well, you know, or when I start to say, you know, I'm like, you know, wait a minute, you're talking about UFOs and Jesus, and I'm like, have you ever seen some of that old ancient artwork? You ought to ask yourself, what the heck's all those little ships like John the Baptist, that famous one, right? He's baptized in Jesus. Well, all this detail, right? Of like, you can see the people's eyes, you can see their fingers, right? And the dove, right? Oh yeah, the disc in the sky. The artist depicted the dove in the sky. No, he didn't.
Right,
no, he didn't. And I've seen something similar to that before, not in a baptism, but I've seen like what I call a pillar of heaven come from the sky and surround somebody. Now I don't know where it came from.
I always love that painting too, because there's a ton of detail here. It's like this artist was just masterful at drawing this whole scene, but just, you know, she can't draw birds, don't know what it is. They all look like flying saucers. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and then we go on. We've got, you know, you've got you know, there's an old on cloth, a painting of Christ being crucified. Now, if you look up there, to me, what you're looking at, those two little dudes and those funny shaped things, those are Merkabahs, right? Yeah. And so, but it's like, okay, well then it's not all separate.
Yeah.
Right? Bigfoot's not separate. UFOs aren't separate. Jesus and Buddhism and Hinduism, that ain't all separate, really. It all, to me, as I've gone on my search, it kind of really goes back to like one thing. Now, I can't exactly tell you, boys, like what that ultimately is or looks like. But again, like the Creator is one. Well, then He made all of this as well. Well, then it all is sort of then tied in, and we talked about vibration, right? And we talked about frequency. Well, like you start to reach these levels of consciousness, right? And somebody asked me before, well, Devon, how do you know you're in the first level of slide? Well, the first thing you're going to realize is that, like, you are not your ego, and you are one with, if you're out in nature, you're going to realize you're one with it. Although, yeah, that tree's standing over there, and it's doing its thing. Strangely enough, there's not as much separation as you think.
Right, yeah.
Like, so even with Bigfoot, like, right, I go back and think, well, what was the interest? Why did Bigfoot seem to pick on me those nights and that next morning when I get to see it as a deer in the field? I don't know. I think there's a bigger, something maybe bigger. Maybe, again, just throwing it out there. I'm not saying for sure, but let's entertain some bigger ideas once in a while, right? But maybe in the past life I was a Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's...
Maybe that ship I saw out on, I could have hit the thing with a rock one night and I got missing time before and after seeing this thing. Well, maybe that was, strangely enough, some relatives of mine.
Right.
Now, if you entertain the idea, like I have many times, that, what I realized at one time, working in the Akashic, showing people past lives, right, and allowing them to see them directly and all these things, that, and then experience timing itself, myself, having it skip and expand in one spot and shorten others. So I know I've been lied to exactly what time is and how it functions. I know that for sure. But what if there is no past? And what if there's, right, so we were told, like, well, time is cyclical, right, and the patterns. Yeah, there's some truth to that. But time doesn't really just, like, go in a cycle. And it's not really linear to me. It doesn't just go from point A to point B and then an end.
Yeah.
To me, it's like if you can sort of start to wrap your head around this idea, well, what if there's no past, no present, no future, and everything happening right now? Well, that would mean that all of your incarnations, this world and off-world, are happening right now, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah.
Wouldn't that also mean, again, just crazy minister down by the river, right, entertaining bigger things? Couldn't that also mean that God's angel army could come and you answering your own prayers on some ship one night?
Right, yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, that's good points, especially to think about.
I know most people at that point, I lose them, right? They're like, I can get into the past life thing, I can get into the future life thing, but I ain't going to buy into, me coming down in space. I'm just saying,
well, time. We have no real. We really don't have any real science about time. I mean, it's literally how we measure moment to moment with gravity. So, you know what I mean? Technically speaking, yeah, it is all right now.
Time, I feel like, time was just invented just to make sure that Bob got to work on time.
Pretty much.
Yeah, the bale hay. That's the only reason why
we know that seasons change. Yep. We know that winter comes, summer comes, and if you pay attention to the weather outside, whatever reason you want to believe for this, winter and summer and spring and fall don't exactly plan themselves around our calendars. No. It's odd, isn't it? It's almost as if our calendars don't really matter.
Yeah. Plus, like, even our winters seem like they're stretching out longer and longer.
Starting later too sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. And what was it? Was it last year we started getting snow like way sooner? Was it last year? I can't remember. There was like 1 year where we just had snow like all of a sudden just super early.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I don't know. It's just wild to me because that whole concept of time is something that is a personal interest of mine. Where it's I don't believe that time is
no time, no space.
I don't think it's a real thing. I think it's just a unit of gravity. How we react to gravity right now.
If you've ever done that, okay, I've done this road trip, 20, 30, 40, 100 times, right? And it takes me 4 hours, 15 minutes, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only person this has happened to. Okay, why on that other time did it take 6 hours and 15 minutes, but on that other time it only took 3 hours and 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard anybody talk about like that? No, I've experienced that personally. I've experienced where I was meditating in one room, knew the three different sort of back-to-back sort of guided meditation tapes I was listening to, used them before. I knew how long they were, and knew how long it cycled through. But now, inside the room I was meditating in, well, almost the entire 6 hours transpired. It was almost the end of the third tape. Now, it was like 5 hours, 45 minutes. Outside of that bedroom, though, just on the other side of the door, when I went to look at the clock, which should have been much later, only about 2 hours and some change had transpired.
So it actually, like, do you think that time was different right then, or maybe how you perceived it was different?
All I can tell you, again, like I'm a scientist at heart, right? I mean, I was trained in behavioral psychology. That's a science. So, like, I'm looking for something to explain it. All I can say is, like, okay, I know what time I sat down in here. I know what time it was on the clock on the wall. I know just because it went through all three of them how long that is by time's definition, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing I can say is, like, I'm just telling you, like, I had a little measuring tape over here at time called those 3 back-to-back, videos that played back-to-back. I listened to them, was there for most of that 6 hours of meditation. Most of it, kind of dozed in and out there, but still, for only 2 hours and change to transpire outside, I was a little confused, to be honest with you, at first. Now, it hadn't been the first time I'd seen something like that, so I wasn't completely, just put off by it. But out in Trout Lake, Washington, again, I was coming back from town one day, had to go to the post office for something, and had to go down the same stretch of road, knew that if I got to the 16-mile marker that I sure better pay attention, because shortly thereafter, that 17 was my turn. I missed it many times. It's just kind of easy one to miss, And if you've never lived out there before, it's kind of like, living in the bayou for the first time. It's like, where is everything?
Yeah.
And so I'd done it before, and passed the 16 this day, and was like, okay, it's a 17 coming up here, right? That's where I need to take my right. Just shortly after that, just feet after that. But I was doing the same drive I'd done many times, driving that gap. There's my 16-mile marker. Here comes the 17, right? Well, all of a sudden, me and the truck are back at the 16. Now, the first time this happens, of course, I'm like, okay, well, I've traveled the road too many times or something, right? I'm making my own deja vu. Something. It's brain fart, whatever. Well, it does the same exact thing, the same exact place. So here we go again. Here's my 17. Boom. Me and the truck are back in the same exact spot. Same exact speed. Still moving. Still heading towards...
Right.
Still heading towards that destination I'm trying to get to take that right to get back to the camp. And here we go again, a third time. Boom, and I'm back there again. Now, this time, I'm like, okay. Again, kind of like seeing Bigfoot, right, and trying to deny it. I'm like, okay, I can't deny this third time. Now, I said to myself, okay, this happens again, I'm pulling the damn truck over, and I'm stopping time, I'm going to, like, control, I kind of thinking somewhere in my mind, the ego steps in, I'm going to control this, right?
Right.
And, but this time I did went on. I didn't skip again, and I, got to take my right-hand turn to get to my destination. I know when I got there, everybody that was there was weird things that sort of happened out there every week and every day. But everybody's sort of just looking at me going like, what happened to you? I'm like, dude, I look a bit disheveled, do I? Yeah, because, like, I just experienced, like, Groundhog Day, like in a little, like, mile marker,
Yeah.
And, we even sat there and theorized, well, what the heck could that be? I kind of joked around. I said, I bet it was some little Palladian kid up there, his first time on that little warp thing they got on that ship, and, like, Dad turned around and he just zapped me back 3 times. I don't know.
Right.
Something happened. So,
yeah. It's wild, man. I mean, this stuff happens. I've joked about this before, where I've got up in the morning, got dressed, jumped in my car, and then I'm at work, and I don't remember the drive. I don't know if I was just on autopilot or what was going on there, but that was scary. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've done that quite a few times.
Or you just get there and you're like, how did this happen?
Sometimes I think we can be fried by our electronics. I stopped carrying a smartphone years ago.
No.
Don't use Wi-Fi at the facility. Try to make sure I don't bathe in the stuff. But that's, if you're around that stuff too much, I think it can kind of zap you a little bit. But, I also believe that a lot of times when we've got that missing time, no, you got missing time because you went somewhere.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about missing time in regards to some of the UFO sightings. I always kind of like go to it. If something is flying around and it's able to manipulate gravity, well, that'll displace time right there. I don't know. It's one of them things where it's how are we gonna know?
The first. Now, I think as a child, again, being very interested in UFOs, getting all the books on them and seeing all those classic old photos, the only ones we had forever, and going out almost every night and looking up and being told, well, those are satellites. Some of those may have been UFOs. I don't know. I don't have that recollection of like, oh, there's a ship or, seeing that mothership. Now, about 14 years old, I was with two friends. And this is the north side of Indianapolis, more specifically, shout out to Carmel, Indiana, you snobs. It was, now back, it was Cherry Tree Elementary, so somebody can find it on a map. It's still there. But now back in the day then, it was just cornfields around there, and they just built this sucker. Yeah. I think they had just put in, like, the basketball courts, and we were probably out there with the basketball that night. Now, this is the thing. If you would have asked us that night, if you would have asked us the next day, I think we would all probably agree if you ask us right now. Okay, so you see this thing out there. Y'all three see it, and it hovers there for half hour, 45 minutes. Kind of hard to tell when you lose time. But can't tell you what we were doing a half hour before we see this thing. We can't tell you what we're doing a half hour after. Now, myself and the two little characters with me back in the day, you might say, yeah, you guys were into something. Like, no, that was a very dry summer. There was nothing to be had. Yeah. You're under influence of nothing. And so what was it that we saw? Well, again, like, I don't know. Where did it phase in? I don't know. We don't know. All we remember is standing there, like, looking at this thing over the cornfield, and it might be, it's a sphere. That's obvious. It's a ball. It's probably, we could probably hit it with a rock if we really tried. Funny enough, we weren't scared of it. It didn't take a fear. We didn't try to hit it like we probably would have if it was anything else, being those kids, at that young age. But it was round, right? And it was see-through, but yet there was something physical inside it, yet it wasn't physical. It's undescribable almost, because it's like, well, you say, well, it was round, so it had to be made of something. Yeah, no, it was see-through. Right. Okay, so what was inside it? What was inside it, Devon? Well, kind of looked like maybe a little mini control panel or something. I'm not sure. We didn't see anything in there like running it. But no, even the stuff inside wasn't exactly physical, not in the sense that I can see through it. And it sort of, if anything, what was, I don't know, maybe, like, was it made of plasma? I don't know. Plasma comes up a lot, I think, when I think of, like, the way things really are. Remember, too, of course, the way we perceive things here on this earth. Like, this piece of wood I'm standing on, oh, no, it's vibrating. It's moving. I've seen that before. No drugs needed. Reach that level of Brahman or any of those levels of Samadhi up there on the top. Yeah, you get to see things the way they really are. They're moving. They're vibrating. So, like, what was that then? I don't know. Again, see-through. Now, like, audio-wise, like, believe it or not, it had, like, just a little bit of, like, a hum. But, like, maybe less than, like, that old refrigerator would make, just barely audible. But just sat there. Yeah. It didn't, I don't think it, didn't move up, down, left, right, just sort of sat there. And, again, like, we probably watched it a half hour, 45 minutes, but the whole thing is like, when did we stop? Right. Don't know. When did we start watching it? Don't know. Okay. Where did it come from? Didn't it kind of probably come in from left field and we saw? We don't know. Now, today I do believe that it was, I don't know, some sort of like a scout ship maybe. Maybe all three of us went aboard something that night.
Yeah.
It'd be worth like doing a little past life regression or something and see if anything would come up. But it is what it is.
Right.
Now, at the time, a lot of people might say, well, drone. guys.
Yeah.
I was 14 years old. There were definitely no commercial drones, and if there were any military drones, I really doubt it.
Right. Yeah. I don't even think the quadcopter thing was even thought of yet. Not in a practical use.
Yeah, and again, there was no moving parts.
Right.
Nothing that you could see moving. Again, you could kind of hear a little something.
Right.
But what? I don't know. That was, you kind of put those back. A lot of those times you see that stuff as a kid, and I know a lot of people I'm telling this now to, and they're hearing this, oh, yeah, that's right. That thing I saw when I was 4 or 5 or 10 or 12. Because, I packed that away for a long time. I don't know where it went. But, ask it.
What a lot of people do. I think when they see these things, when they experience them, I think a lot of times it's the easiest bet is to just throw it away. Yeah. It obsesses you for a little bit, and then it's like, you know what, I'm getting nowhere with this. I'm moving on. And then,
let's open up this can of worms then, because this seems to be the one that I share that I get probably the most response from.
Yeah.
So talking about first, seeing my first what I call black astral, and because somebody says they see a black shadow, to me you've got to ask more questions. There's different things, right?
Yeah.
Different levels even of these lower dimensional things. This thing I call Bush League. They're like a dime a dozen. I got my theory on where they come from. I got my theory on how people kind of sort of conjure them up and send them to people. But so the story here, I'm over at a neighbor's. I mean, it's more of an acquaintance, right? They were not my parents, like best friends by any means. Dad, on the side note, was a magician. I really don't know to what level or what he was doing. Now, there's an add-on note to the son that lived there as well a little bit later on in the story. But so being laid down for a nap around noon. I'm 4, probably not quite 5, somewhere in there. One of my earliest memories, and tossing and turning, I'm sure, on this bunk bed on the bottom level, and can't quite get to sleep from my nap, I'm sure. And this thing starts forming from the floor up. It's it would appear as a shadow on the wall, but there's nothing to cast this shadow. There's nothing for it to start to have legs. I mean, it forms up to what look like legs to the point where it gets to what looks like a torso and a chest, and then has arms, and its head ends up, again, it's a shadow on the wall. Now, it's for your audience, it's not coming off the wall, right? It stays on the wall. This is what a lot of people reference to as a black astral. It's really just, there's a lot of people that see these things at an early age on, just like I did.
Would this be could this be confused with the like shadow people?
Yeah. I think a lot of times it is.
Okay.
And the shadow people, like if somebody really wanted to go down that road, I could break that down to probably 2 subcategories even there. So, but these are, you'll hear these. These are kind of a dime a dozen. And today, if I see them, for example, like it's not really scary. Sometimes I might get a little startled because oh wow, how'd you get past the defenses type thing? But okay, let's get you out of here. They're no big deal. They can actually. I don't suggest anybody even try this, but they can sort of be commanded and manipulated if you understand your authority in God. So, anyway, back to this thing. I know at the time. Like, right, Mom takes us to church. I haven't been baptized yet. I hear about this Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Trinity stuff, but I don't. I know who Jesus is. Like, I've seen him in my little nighttime little meditations I'm doing as a kid. I mean, didn't call meditations. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm laying there and real quietly,
Yeah.
So I knew who that guy was. But I didn't understand the Trinity, but I understood that this thing on the wall, like my discernment as a little kid, was up to par enough that I knew it was not there to sing me a lullaby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was not there to do me any favors. Now, it finally forms a full, it looks beastly. It definitely looks, if you had to say, well, the male or female, well, the shadow looks kind of male because it's got a big old chest, but now it's got horns on the top. So, again, it's shadow horns. And it kind of does what I say. It's sort of like doing a little shimmy on the wall. It like kind of starts to move, kind of like a little back and forth, right? Kind of the arms moving and everything,
Yeah.
and I guess I suppose that was to really scare the shit out of the kids. I suppose that's why they pull that one out of behind. You really got to put some trauma in them at a young age, and trust me, that's what all this is about. But strangely enough, like I don't go to fear. You would, like, most adults will see this and they would defecate themselves.
Oh, yeah,
but I don't go to fear, and I don't yell, I don't scream, I don't run out of the room. Again, I don't understand the Trinity. I don't understand really my true dimension, my true multidimensional being as a children of God, but I do understand. I know one prayer, just one. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, and if I die before it, right? You guys ever heard that one?
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the oldest prayers. Like, more kids probably in the world have said that prayer. Now, I finished the prayer, but that thing that probably took 30 seconds to fully form, that starts doing a shimmy. First time I got to the word Lord, that thing goes bam, and just goes right back into the ground, like in an instant. So as a little kid, I'm laying there, and I'm just like, no, I don't understand all this stuff, but I do understand that thing responded to that word.
No kidding.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, no, actually, Devon, we're coming up on an hour 30. This will be about the limit of what we can upload in an episode.
Yeah.
Now, curious, because it's fascinating stuff. I wanted to know if we probably have to wrap this one up, but would you be interested in maybe coming back on later on and telling us some more stuff? I mean, you don't have to, of course, but
no, absolutely,
that'd be great, man. Yeah, honestly, I would like if we could upload, a couple of hours, man, I would just keep doing this all night. You know what I mean? Because it's fascinating stuff. I mean, if I'm being honest, I love it.
No, it's been I just figure it was sort of my calling. It was something that was ordained long before I ever got here, and I turned it off for the longest time.
Yeah.
And really a lot of my abilities, a lot of the things I was seeing, okay, you're off. I'm not going to see it anymore. I'm not going to do this stuff anymore. But to be honest, like many years ago, it was. Once I had a few more experiences, once the Bigfoot thing, once I was part of an instant healing, I'm just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
The 9 to 5s, those are almost like, fingers on a chalkboard for me now. All I really want to do is just sort of like, these things that are far more interesting. I never had interactions with Bigfoot and all these different UFOs and these things. Not that I didn't to UFOs when I was younger, but all this really sort of come on when I really set my sail to, what I came here to do, if you will, right? My true purpose here on Earth.
Yeah.
And trying to serve the, not just myself, but, give freely of the gifts as much as I can that I've been given and I came here for. And so that's where I feel like all this has really come along. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, just we're just wanting to say, like, we'll keep in touch and see if when
definitely I'd like
the next time you're free,
like to
we
get
can
you back on for sure.
Yeah, we can go from there.
No,
absolutely.
Your group, is it in Burkesville?
Yeah. So I'm kind of like on the way edge. So it's about 20 minutes. Although everything out here is about 4 or 5 miles away, it's about 20 minutes to town.
Is this something? I mean, is this something where like a listener who might be around there can they?
Yeah, join.
I mean, can they get involved? I mean, how does it work?
Absolutely. I've got a few different events that I try to regularly hold, and that's one of the reasons among many that I moved out here, that I got the property, and I'm following a vision that I had a long time ago. So I hold Reiki boot camp. I hold different classes on a lot of the stuff that I'm covering tonight. So, anybody that's wondering, how can I get a little bit better idea of how do I really wear the armor of God? How do I sharpen my sword?
Yeah.
And what's the rubber meets the road? How does somebody actually do some of that if they're going to go down these roads? Well, I teach a class on that. Skywatch events. I try to do Skywatch events out here. I'd like to do them every month, but sometimes I'm not quite fortunate enough. And that's just nice to have people come out. If you're from the heart, you're encouraged to come out. And just if you've never had an experience, come out from the heart. We do a short prayer and meditation before. We're asking for only the benevolent, not the benevolent. beings, to appear. And then it's kind of interesting because a lot of times, people will be fascinated that, when you start to sort of, you see these different things and you say, well, how do I know that's, anything or not maybe one of our ships? So like, I don't know, just with your heart and your mind, tell it to, fire up. And you see them respond to your thoughts. Or when you see them, possibly, although it's not every night, but when they decide to buzz the ridge or something, you're like, okay, that's not one of ours.
Right,
or when you can feel when you feel the vibration of those different beings, you kind of, that discernment again kicks in. And you know that, no, that's a higher energy up there, not just somebody riding in a ship. But yeah, so there's a few different events that I hold here. This is a 40-acre, running ranch / spiritual healing training center. So there's a lot of different needs here. So, I'm also into doing, energy exchange too and different things. But we have different places for camping, different places for RVs and things like that, but very primitive connections and hookups and things like that out here. But the best way to, get an idea of what's going on here is either, I'm sorry, the only place I've really had time to do anything is put it on Facebook. So it's Christ Light and Love Healing and Training Center in Berkshire, Kentucky, or ChristLightandLove.com would be sort of the website that encompasses everything I do, from the shamanistic stuff to the spiritual stuff to I work with, what I call frequency medicine. So that's different devices such as LED light therapy, pulse electromagnetic frequency therapy, scientific consciousness interaction operations. So I work with some pretty interesting stuff. That's really, to me, it's all frequency.
Okay. So that's how, say a listener could check you out and
we'll try
possibly
to
get
We'll
involved.
get links and stuff, and we'll put it in the descriptions and stuff. So
yeah.
Well,
Devon, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, thanks for you guys just, even having the platform for somebody like me to come on and be able to share. And, this will do what, this is going to do what somebody else's conversation I heard on the radio. It's going to do the same thing it did to me. And that's going to be a reminder that, hey, you've come here for something much bigger. You're a multidimensional child of God. And if you tune into what that is, like, there's a lot of really cool stuff out here in this universe that you can see and experience and be part of.
For sure, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, you.
So hopefully this just reminds a lot of you out there of who you are, and just lean into that. It's a lot more than this fallen world around us. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, man. We appreciate you, and
take care.
Yeah, you take care, man, and we appreciate you being out there asking all the big cosmic questions for us.
Yeah. Hey, we ever touch base again, we get a chance to talk again, we'll talk, go a little bit more deeper about some things too. Because this type of stuff, guys. I'm like a little kid in a candy store. I can't get enough. Yeah. And for a lot of us, we don't always have the audience. People we know that'll be from the heart, and we'll, if nothing else, just say, well, I don't know what I think about it, but I'll listen to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Well, hey, really good luck on your adventure here, and Godspeed, and grow those numbers.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. God bless, guys.
See you, buddy. Thank you. Well, fellas, that was.
He had a lot of stuff. Like, I will say this. Like, I don't know if I'm on board with a lot of the God stuff, Jesus, but. I feel like we've said it 1,000 times on this show.
Yep. Campfire's open.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna, just because I don't have that connection, maybe I'm missing something. That could be the part of it, but I guess I'm not there yet. So
there you go. Maybe you can get on his Facebook page and check it out.
Yeah.
There you go.
I can. We're going to put all his links and stuff down in the description. So.
Hell yeah.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, this is a big episode. So
this is a big episode.
Everybody's getting their dose this week. So I tell you what, guys. Yeah, wow, this one really went. So you guys out there, I'm gonna just say, you guys take care of each other, and
like that comment section up.
Yep, we
Tell
love
us what
it.
you think about this.
And always, if you guys have anything, somebody, a grandmother or a great grandmother,
tell grandma about the
tell
show.
grandma about the show, and she's seen Sasquatch, tell her to come over and tell her story. You can get us at encounters@kyxfiles.com.
Yeah. And be nice to her. You know, she's a great lady.
She's a great woman.
She Take care, guys.